Hey guys, Lindsay here. You definitely want to make sure you have these today. Should I just do the whole broadcast like this in my sunglasses? Actually, I've only heard that you wear them at night. Sorry, I'm an 80s baby. What do you want me to do? All right. So let's talk a little bit about the forecast. So we do have at this point, I am looking at today being a beautiful day. We'll have high temperatures in the mid 70s, and then you can see the temperatures really start to creep up. I am expecting low 90s going into Wednesday, Thursday, and when you combine that with the high dew points, which you can see to the right of your screen right here, those dew points are in the 70s. That's gross. So then you go back to the left part of your screen and you see the apparent temperature. You see how high that is? It gets to about the upper 90s, maybe even triple digits. Obviously, we get lots of energy during that time, but we don't have any storm chances that I'm expecting going into that time. But you see, even without storm chances, you can have tons of energy. We have like 3,000 Cape that day. So, yeah, hot and humid. That is the big story. But we do also have some storm chances as well that I will highlight. The heat is definitely big. You can see I mentioned this a few weeks ago, maybe like last week or the week before, that big ridge setting up. That ridge is just going nowhere. You see that right there? And we're right in the middle of, we're right on the top of that ridge. So we can get some storms called ridge riders, which a lot of them are going to be up here. So starting about Thursday, I'm going to call for some daily storm chances, but once they initiate, I can tell you where they're heading, but it's very similar to Florida where they're just going to kind of pop up on a sea breeze. And then once they're there, the meteorologist there can tell you where they're heading. This is a very similar pattern. Obviously, we don't have an ocean next to us. This is not lake driven. It's just what I mean by a similar pattern is I mean that we do have the potential of, pop ups that turn into a thunderstorm that could impact your plans for the day. But I wouldn't expect them to be long lasting or anything. The heat really does want to stay around a while. I do see another ridge that's trying to set up going into next week, which would be getting into the state fair, which is always hot and humid, right? So this really coincides with what the Storm Prediction Center is putting out their outlook here. You can see their 6 to 10 day outlook along with precip chances above average, which makes sense. And if you go to their 8 to 14 day outlook, again, big ridge setting up, and you can see the precip looks about near where they should be this time of the year. But yeah, most of the country except for the Pacific Northwest and Maine are going to be above average. So that's going to be pretty hot. And because of some of this heat, we do have extreme heat watches in effect for areas in Illinois. I wouldn't be surprised if we got added to some kind of heat advisory or excessive heat warning. I do want to mention some storm chances as well. Some of these storm chances, I think, do have some potential overnight tonight. Very similar to what I've been talking about. I've been watching a lot of complexes over here. They're called MCSs or MCVs, and I don't expect these to really do much. If I go back to the 12Z, here's what stinks is that MCSs, the weather models do a terrible job of initiating them. I do see that we have some potential of some storms tomorrow, but every single thing I've looked at has had storms starting and then stopping in random spots. So the last couple of times I've looked, here's just my version of me drawing weather. I've seen a lot of things initiate over here, and they kind of move down in this direction. That's kind of what I'm gonna go with here. Are all of them going to make it to Milwaukee? No, I don't think so. I think that there is an opportunity. But if the storms initiate here, they're going to go this way. If they initiate here, as this model shows, they go this way, and then we miss out. That's the hard part about forecasting MCSs is that the weather models do not handle initiation well. I have to what we call nowcast, which basically means I am forecasting now. I know that there's an opportunity for some storms in the forecast, but where they end up is going to be the biggest question. Once they pick up, once they actually initiate, let's say it initiates right here, then I will use my meteorological knowledge to tell you, is it going to head to Green Bay? Is it going to head to the EAA? Is it going to go to Milwaukee? So I'm still going to go for some storm chances for Tuesday. I would say mid morning to mid afternoon. And then, yes, there are random storm chances all over the place the rest of the week. These are the ridge riders I was talking about. And every weather model handles the initiation very differently for tomorrow. So it makes it pretty tough to forecast. As you can see, the GFS doesn't have anything until much later coming up on almost Wednesday morning. So I know that's not the forecast you want to hear if you're going to the EAA because every day there's some kind of chance of some storm happening, which is why our 7 day has these big basically on the 7 day we just have stray storm chance. The bigger story that's impacting everybody is the heat, and you can see that heat really nasty Going into Wednesday, southwesterly winds kicking in. Going into Thursday, we have the high heat as well. So just make sure you know what to do during high heat. We've talked about this many, many times. When there's high heat, make sure you're wearing light and loose clothing, staying hydrated, and make sure you find yourself to a cooling center. That would be, quite frankly, your best bet. All right, you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll be back here on tomorrow.